And now in the last set of matches, Bloodedge taking on Nadi. If Edge wins this, he can take on Frosh. And that's the only way that uh, Sanctuary Alliance will win this team battle now, is if Bloodedge wins both. Yeah, I was debating on what deck to use, and I decided to go with that deck because it's my tried and true, but when it came down to actually using it, it decided to just not give me what I need. Admittedly, yes, Frost did do a lot of early damage, and I had some guard for some of it early on, but I really couldn't do much at a point. Edge blocks the Vanguard attack because if he didn't, he would have lost his starter, which was bound. So now right into Milios, call Grieve called Gregorius, called Greg. Deals 2 damage. Also has a hand lead, but we've seen what kind of deck this is, so sure as Stealth Dragon Rearguard, it goes for Greg, and Greg dies. 16k to the Vanguard. Not guarded, and it is a stand trigger. Stride into Tidal Bore. Road Tetra Burst Dragon. 21, 31, 41. Counterblast to make Bloodedge discard one. Discards the critical trigger. Speaking of critical triggers, another critical trigger. So close. It would have been amazing. Well, next turn we should see a Legion. Edge never called back the starter after it was added to hand. Perfect guard. First check is a grade 3. Second is a grade 1. And finally a grade 2. If the next top card is a trigger, then Mystery Flare would activate. Of course, Mystery Flare isn't in that deck because it's not Gear Chronicle. Also, to be fair, to be honest, Gear Chronicle don't need Mystery Flare anymore. Mystery Flare is basically the equivalent of playing Russian roulette. Well, not Russian roulette, just regular roulette, because you don't die if you miss it. Going into Legion. So let's see if this means he has 4 battles. Calls a starter. Is he about to use it? Okay. So he should use the starter skill from what I'm seeing. The starter skill will give him the ability to, on the 4th turn, counterblast 1 to retire 1 and draw 1. And the Vanguard gets plus 5k and a crit. This will be after the first attack goes for the Vanguard. The second attack will go for the rear if he doesn't intercept the first attack, which is what should happen. Third attack will be to the Vanguard, which can't hit unless a trigger comes within one of the ones that I already mentioned. And then the turn I just said, which will end with Edge having a 4-card hand and dealing as much damage as what comes from that. He didn't check a perfect guard and triple check last turn. As a matter of fact, I think this is the only perfect guard I've seen from him all this time. So, since Bloodedge is being right back, I'll pause the recording. Alright, Edge returns. So now let's see if the starter skill is used. Because otherwise I have no idea why that was even placed on the field. Okay, that's why it's placed on the field. So now the Vanguard gains the extra skill that I mentioned. So first 12 to the Vanguard, if he doesn't intercept. And he didn't intercept. So that means second attack is going to the rear. And he protected it. He should really go for that rear again. Okay, so the Vanguard is going to hit. Retiring the starter, so that doesn't come into play later. A draw. And with Counterblast 1, it gains 5k and a crit. 28k to crit. And Edge heals. Now Edge has a big advantage for a lot of reasons. He doesn't have to worry as much about blocking the Vanguard as he did before. Now he just has to worry more about blocking the rear. It seems like Nadi doesn't use draw triggers in this deck. So binding one. So let's see, it binds one on the field. And then two from the hand at random. Got two triggers. Yeah, it's only 20,000 because it's when it attacks a Vanguard does that happen. So right now what he's trying to do, since that hit, he can Soul Blast one, and two things in the drop that are in the bind are going to go to the drop. So Starless is going to the drop. Edge takes the other attack, which means another Soul Blast and another skill. But this also means that Nadi's out of soul, so we can't do that again. Of course, these can counterblast one and go into the soul in order to do things, but then you lose boosters. Plus, they only activate if Edge has 3 cards or more in hand. So knowing that, Edge might just drop all of his hands to make sure it doesn't come to that. And that's exactly what he's doing. Surprised he didn't do that differently, but what works, works. I mean, if I was him, I would have put the Tetra Burst with the draw trigger, and then the Milios with the Hermes. So that restands, loses 5k. He's just gonna attack with it, and it's gonna whiff. Then the next deck is gonna be at the Vanguard. Oh no, next deck is gonna be at the rear because the Vanguard's hitting for 2 critical anyway. And with only 1 card in hand, he can't block it. No triggers. And no triggers. Edge takes it. Going on to the last match. Bloodedge versus Frosh. We'll just have to see what happens.